Hey everyone, it's Papito here, and I have another battle for you all. This is week 6, and this week I actually recorded it a couple days ago, but then when I went to edit it, I realized I had everything muted, which was a mistake on my part. Actually, okay, it should be working this time. Um, but yeah, so I actually already did my battle for this. I'm gonna not spoil anything and I'm just gonna go through the team and my opponent's team and then I'll just talk through the battle as it goes. But you won't have to see me think through my plays and all that. So it should be a shorter video. But anyways, this week I went up against Scott, uh, BakerTurtle. He has a YouTube channel too. So I'm sure this game will be on his channel as well. So I'm actually gonna link that in the description. And yeah, all around he's a pretty good battler. He's been on a losing streak sort of in a lot of his leagues. Um, but he's not someone you can take lightly. He's made finals for leagues before. He's probably even won some. Um, Also, his record is 2-3, despite what it says here, and his losses were kind of unlucky. And he's beat some really good opponents as well. So he wasn't an opponent I wanted to take lightly. So with that being said, let me look at his team. Tapu Lele, which was his first overall pick, super scary mon, creates psychic terrain, so no priority moves. Um, so then he has Skarmory to partner up with that, Gastrodon, Alolan Muck, Cinderace, Primeape, Miltank, what's this thing called? Eldegoss, Mismagius, necrozma, and then Mega Ampharos. So all around, I feel like I say this every week, but it's a solid team. When I was prepping, I was scared of Scarf Pokemon to outspeed some of my Pokemon, like Zeraora, which I recently got. Um, and Scarf Pokemon are kind of its weakness, so I was kind of expecting Primeape to be Scarf or Tapu Lele. And then he has two of the best walls against Melmetal, which is Gastrodon and Skarmory. Um, I didn't. I don't think he would bring both though. I thought one would have its role to stop it, and then I also thought Miltank might come just as a Shaman counter. So my logic was if I see Miltank, it's going to be specially defensive to stop Shaman, have the Sap Sipper ability to absorb grass moves and gain attack that way. Thought if I see Primeape, it's going to be Scarf, and then if I see Gastrodon and Skarmory, they're probably going to be pretty bulky. And then I also thought if he brings Ampharos, it's probably going to be fast to not let Melmetal outspeed it, which is kind of good in my opinion, because one of Ampharos's main things is the fact that like you can invest in HP and it's just super bulky that way. So yeah, with that being said, let me show you the team I brought. Okay, so for starters, I brought Kyurem, and Kyurem's new to my team. I dropped Latios last week for Kyurem. It allowed me to free up some points, and it makes my rock weakness a bit worse. But Kyurem is just kind of a safer, bulkier pick. I don't have to worry about pursuit as much anymore. So I'm happy I got it. And then I gave it a Chople Berry. This was because Tapu Lele technically gets Focus Blast. It also Ampharos can get fighting coverage, and then Cinderace gets fighting coverage. So I thought Chople Berry was just pretty safe. I made it max speed, mainly to speed tie Tapu Lele in case that comes up. And then Freeze Dry is very standard, very good against Gastrodon. Draco Meteor just hits really hard. Roost is just for longevity, and then Focus Blast was specifically for Miltank, because I figure he's going to go specially defensive Miltank, and this allows me to actually hurt it. So yeah, I thought that was a good call there. My next pick was Pinsir. This is just a super standard set. I figured with flying coverage and Earthquake, I'd do all I needed to do. I went max speed, and the reason was, oh, I speed time Miss Magius. If uh, that happens, better safe than sorry. Okay, so then I brought Melmetal. This is an Assault Vest set. It's a really awkward, spicy set, but I gave it enough speed to outspeed some of his slower Pokemon. I was hoping I'd be faster than them. That was my logic there. I think I also gave it speed to take into account if I happen to paralyze a specific Pokemon, I'll be able to outspeed it afterwards. So that was why I went 136 there. And then I went max attack, and I kind of went max special attack. This was just for Skarmory because Thunder Punch didn't do enough. I was scared maybe he'd have like a Rocky Helmet or Iron Defense or something. I don't know if Skarmory gets Iron Defense, but you know, like, no, it doesn't. But yeah, stuff like that. And I just thought Discharge was safer. Also, it's scary for him to switch in on a Discharge because if I paralyze something, then all of a sudden I'm potentially faster than it. Especially with the likelihood of him bringing a Scarf Pokemon. So then after that I went Zeraora. This was just a very offensive set. I went Play Rough for Mega Ampharos. This slot I thought about different moves and I figured that would probably be safest. Okay, so after that I went Blastoise. This is a kind of unique Blastoise set. Actually, no, it's kind of what I normally bring with Shell Smash. I made a physical Earthquake for Ampharos. Give it Dark Pulse because I thought it hit Necrozma hard, and then Tapu Lele potentially, I guess. And then Hydro Pump just for huge damage. Made it Life Orb. My logic here was if I Shell Smash and then he has Psychic Terrain up, I'm just gonna keep firing off moves. And as Life Orb takes away my health, I'll get a Torrent boost. And once I get that Torrent boost, I'll just hit really, really hard. So I figure this would be a cool set to run. I did take note that I was super weak to Gastrodon with this set. So my focus was Blastoise is really good, it can sweep his team once Gastrodon's gone. So then after that I went Shaman. The Shaman I kind of just threw together last minute. I figured if I go Choice Scarf, Healing Wish, it's kind of like having an extra Pokemon sort of without the time and effort to individually prep it and whatnot. So I just threw it together. I was super scared of him bringing Scarf Pokemon, like I said earlier. So I'd be faster than a Scarf Pokemon with this strategy. Yeah, I had to be very careful against Meltink though, because if I Seed Flare, he switches in Meltink and it gets a Sap Sipper, then he has a free turn against me. So, with all that being said, let's get straight into the battle. These were the 6 he brought. I was surprised no Ampharos, but then everything else was kind of expected. I thought maybe he would bring Ampharos over Skarmory or something like that, but honestly it makes sense that he brought Skarmory. That's one of his better Pokemon. Okay, so I lead Kyurem here, he leads Tapu Lele. I figure Kyurem can threaten pretty much everything except Tapu Lele and Cinderace. So the fact that he led Tapu Lele was actually really good on his part. It made me not want to risk a speed tie, and I also, even if I did, I couldn't knock it out. So he definitely won the lead face-off here. So Psychic Terrain went up. I went straight into Assault Vest Melmetal. I took a Moonblast very nicely. I found out it was Life Orb, so it wasn't Scarf like I had originally planned for. I didn't see Primeape, so I thought Tapu Lele would be Scarf. Okay, so a lot happened here. So I went Steamroller to get rid of Psychic Terrain, which worked out nicely, but it revealed Rocky Helmets. So I took 12% damage from the Rocky Helmets. And then he fired off a Stealth Rocks, and I fired off a Discharge. Now, when he fired off the Stealth Rocks, I quickly realized I didn't bring any Rapid Spin or Defoggers this match, which is really, really bad on my part. But luckily, when I fired off a Discharge, I got a very, very fortunate Paralysis. And that Paralysis allowed me to fire off another Discharge again, knocking out Skarmory. He honestly couldn't really switch into anything here. Maybe Gastrodon. But if he does, I can just double Iron Bash for a 50% chance to flinch. Since I have speed investment, I'm hoping I'd be faster. So that was my logic. So then he goes in Gastrodon. So I thought, oh shoot, maybe he is faster. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm just gonna go for it. It's kind of like a really odd amount of speed that I put into Melmetal. So if he were to add that much, I think the rest of the game I would realize Gastrodon isn't as scary, not as bulky as I thought. So he actually switches into Necrozma. I go double Iron Bash, does a huge amount of damage. Then he goes back into Gastrodon, so I get even more free damage, but I take so much from Rocky Helmet. So he actually brought double Rocky Helmets just for Melmetal. I go into Shaman here to threaten Gastrodon. And then I figured, well, Shaman's in, I feel like he'll switch out. Like, because Gastrodon's so important this matchup, it's the thing that's walling him from Blastoise. So he does switch out. He goes in Necrozma. I call the switch out and go, oh wait, sorry. What happens is he goes Miltank on my Zeraora. And like I said earlier, I think Miltank would be specially defensive. And sure enough, that seems to be the case. So I made that read and I go for a Bulk Up just to threaten whatever he switches in. So I Bulk Up, he switches in his Necrozma. Keep in mind it's not leftovers. I go for a Plasma Fist. I thought this would knock out, but then I quickly realized that this Necrozma is max HP, max defense, which was kind of terrifying. And then it rests, which was even more terrifying. But I just figure I need to start setting up on this. He goes for Sleep Talk, he reveals Rest, which I already knew. I go for Plasma Storm just in case he has something. I want to guarantee damage, so whatever I switch in will knock it out afterwards. He goes for a Calm Mind with his second Sleep Talk, which is even more terrifying. Thankfully I knock out. I feel like his last move was Photon Geyser. So yeah. So then he switches, he says GG, and he switches in Tapu Lele, which I know isn't Scarf. So I was just like, it's pretty free to fire off a Plasma Fist here. At this rate, I one-shot everything except Gastrodon, assuming it's very defensive, which I believe it is based off Melmetal's hit into it earlier. So he actually kind of tempted me with Tapu Lele. He was probably scouting for something. But yeah, I Plasma Fist into Gastrodon. And then I go for a close combat. I did the calc, and I realized that if I close combat, it wouldn't knock out. Zeraora is important for this matchup, but my logic was, if I take out Gastrodon, I pretty much seal the game with Blastoise, just Hydro Pumping everything. So I was kind of okay with losing Zeraora at that point. So I go close combat, he goes Earth Power, he knocks out Zeraora. He got a crit, the crit did not matter there. So then I get Kirimin for free here. And I say for free because he has to switch out Gastrodon. So I go for a Freeze Dry, and I actually get a Freeze, which is super lucky on my part. So yeah, he was kind of mad about it. I kind of abuse it by going Roost. And then I go for a Focus Blast, knocking out Gastrodon, so that was good. He goes Tapu Lele, I don't want to risk the speed tie. and then he crits this turn. And this crit, I would have lived had he not crit. And my logic this turn was I was gonna go into Tapu. I was gonna go into Shaman. I would take 69% from a Moonblast. If he did go for a Psychic, I would have knocked out, which would have been an amazing play on his part. But yeah, the Moonblast actually got a crit and knocked me out, which was really unfortunate, because next turn I was going to go Healing Wish, Faint Shaman to revive Melmetal with Assault Vest back to full. And then if you look here, his only switch-ins were Cinderace, Tapu Lele, and Meltank. So I would have just fired off a double Iron Bash doing really, really big damage. So that crit was unfortunate, but I still had an opportunity to win because of Blastoise. And a lot of my other Pokemon were still really strong. So I go Mega Pinsir here. Mega Pinsir's faster than Tapu Lele, so I threaten big time. So what I do is I fire off a return, which would have knocked out Tapu Lele. I got a crit. And yeah, since Miltank's frozen, I just figured I would go for a Swords Dance. Because even if it woke up and it recovered, this would just guarantee next turn I for sure knock it out even without the crit. So yeah, I go for the return to knock it out. The freeze was a bit unfortunate. I don't know exactly what set the Miltank was outside of being specially defensive. So then it goes Pyro Ball on something. I decide to switch in Melmetal just to sack it at this point because my plan with Shaman sort of fell apart. So Melmetal had done its job for the game already. Okay, so then I bring in Blastoise. This is where I kind of had to make a tough call. It's either I fire off a Hydro Pump straight up, but if he goes Tapu Lele, I am in some danger, or I go Shell Smash here. So he goes Substitute and I go Shell Smash. And this was actually a really, really huge misplay on my part. Partially because now I have the defense drop. I didn't expect Substitute. I kind of just expected him to retreat into Tapu Lele. So I guess I'm calling it a misplay, but I guess it was a read on my part, and it wasn't the right read for sure. Okay, so then he goes Sucker Punch, does 44%, I Earthquake. I take Life Orb damage. Also, yeah, another reason I Shell Smashed was I was so scared of missing a Hydro Pump. So I really wanted to Shell Smash and just Earthquake Cinderace instead. Okay, so at this point, he goes for another Sucker Punch, knocks out Blastoise. So then I realize I'm actually in a really tough spot. But I also remember I have Kyurem with the Chople Berry, which is really good. If Cinderace uses High Jump Kick, I will live it. So I think I lived it anyways, but Chople Berry just guarantees I live it. If he goes Substitute again, though, I have to use Draco Meteor this turn, because everything else won't kill, or won't faint. So it was kind of like a return. If he goes Substitute and I Draco, like I was locked in on Draco. But if he goes Substitute, I lose the game. If he goes High Jump Kick, I win the game. If he misses High Jump Kick, I really won the game. So that was my logic. So I'm like, okay, let me go Draco. Let's just hope he doesn't switch out. Or I spoiled it. Let me just hope he doesn't substitute. But yeah, he actually does switch out, which was honestly a really good play on his part. It caught me off guard completely. Um, but yeah, at that point, I just figure my only win condition is I freeze dry because we speed tie. I freeze dry and I get a freeze. That's kind of like my only out. So he switches in Tapu Lele. He wins the speed tie, which honestly didn't really matter. Knocking out Kirim. I go Mega Pinsir here. Fire off a return. Knock out Tapu Lele. So then I was thinking to myself here, there's still a very, very small chance I win. Because, okay, it's revealed Sucker Punch. Since I'm flying, it can actually use Sucker Punch in Psychic Terrain. So I could Swords Dance and try to waste his Sucker Punches, which is so hard to do, honestly. But if I called it correctly, it would win me the game. So I thought about doing that. And then my other plan was maybe he just straight up goes for a Pyro Ball. I'm assuming his last move was a fighting move, like high jump kick, which could miss. So yeah, I just figure, honestly, if I call the Sucker Punch and I Swords Dance, like, I'm still probably going to lose. I would have to get like 5 reads technically in a row correct in order to win the game. So I figured, let me just go for a return and hope he misses, which is a 10% chance. So then he actually goes for a Pyro Ball, not a Sucker Punch, knocks me out, and I lose the game. The Psychic Terrain mechanics were a little confusing. I happen to know them from VGC experience, so I figured out that like Sucker Punch would work on flying types and whatnot. But honestly, at that point, it was my game to lose. In hindsight, I realized losing Zera Aura to try getting damage on Gastrodon was not a good play at all. If I saved it for later, that would have helped me out big time. The crit on Shaman, I think I played technically a little risky there because if he called Psychic and got Shaman, I would have been in the same exact position. And then for Blastoise, which I kind of consider like my third main win con this game, he prepped well for it with actually bringing Substitute. I don't know if it was specifically for Blastoise, but the way he used it was really smart, which allowed him to take advantage of the fact that I brought Blastoise with Shell Smash. So yeah, all in all, it was a close game, a tough loss indeed. Let me look at standings. So due to this loss, we're here, LA Lapras. My opponent is now 3-3, and my division record is 1-2, which is the first tiebreaker. Well, it goes number of wins, then division. And pretty much the way it works is 8 people will make playoffs out of, 4 people from this group of 8 will make playoffs. So right now I still am in the top 4, but I can't afford to lose any more losses. Pretty much it's a 7-person race. Like this guy who drafted like all turtle Pokemon is not doing really well, but everyone else is. So this is week 6. There's 7 more weeks left and then playoffs. So going forward, I'm going to have to step it up a bit and just make sure I make playoffs. I still play these 3 people once each. They're all part of my division, so those games are going to be very important going forward. And yeah, other than that, thank you all so much for watching. This next upcoming week is a break week, so I may upload another video instead, and then I'll have Draft League content again the following week. So look forward to that. Thank you all so much for watching. You're all awesome. I always say that, but you know it's true. Also, if you want to do me a big favor, like the video or share it with a friend, just be like, hey, this guy Papito, he has a brand new video, and I know him, you know. And if you don't know me, just say like, I'm your friend or something. Like, yeah, we're officially friends now if you made it to the end of this video. So, yeah, you can say your friend's making YouTube videos or something. I don't know. Okay. Anyways, thanks for watching. Bye.